Let's move on to Imp's favorite player on the New York Knicks, and that's going to be Mitchell Robinson. So yeah, Mitch, you shocked me when you sent me the B minus. I thought you was going to hate on him. I ain't going to front. I thought you was going to send me like a C minus something.
Nah. I mean, listen, he plays 72 games. My biggest criticism about him is staying healthy and, stop falling every single time. And I mean, he still falls. He's still unnecessarily at times too. But I mean, you can't be mad at 76% field goal, 25 minutes a game. These are things you just can't be mad at. Almost average a double-double. A point and a half away, a rebound and a half away, almost 2 blocks a game. Like, you can't be mad at it. So good for Mitch. I'm not saying I want to resign him or anything like that, but good for Mitch.
You talk about resigning him. That's the question I want to pose to the chat. Has Mitch shown enough to warrant us to, extend him? So should we extend him for a deal worth over $50 million a year? Extend him for a deal worth under $50 million a year? Or should we just let him walk and try to get some value in return for a sign and trade? So let me put that poll in the chat. And like I said, I'm glad you're starting to come over to the dark side and see Mitch does have some value out there on the court. He's an elite. Go ahead. What you were saying?
No, I was gonna say, I've been hoping him to play good all season. That way we could go the sign and trade route. I want his value to skyrocket that way. Listen, man, we can get some value for this kid. Let's make it happen. Because I already know there's gonna be a team out there trying to throw a stupid amount at him just because they can. That's usually the case with restricted free agents. Look at not Karis LeVert. Who's the one on the Cavs just threw $100 million at?
Well, Jared Allen.
Yeah, look at Jared Allen. $100 million, ridiculous. And I know that there's gonna be a team that wants to do that if he's a restricted free agent. So I'd rather us go the sign and trade route before that even happens.
I mean, honestly, he hits the open market. I think a team like Detroit could definitely swoop in and sign him. You got a team like Dallas that can also drive up the price, make this into a bidding war. So it's very likely we could see Mitch end up with a contract that's going to pay him over the $15 million a year mark. And I think that right there is when I start to be a little bit hesitant because, he played the 72 games this season, and that's phenomenal. That's great. But you still have some concern, some hesitancy when you're discussing a Jones fracture. So at $15 million a year, I'd sign me up. But if we start getting into the 18, 19 million a year mark, at that point, you're not getting enough value, I think, from Mitch, because at that price point, I want you to provide a little bit more offensively. So I would have hoped he would have shown a little bit more offensively to at least get some of those reservations out my mind. But if we can get to a deal right around the $14 to $15 million a year mark, which I think is what might be what it has to be, what might be what it needs to hit in order to get a deal done, then that's something I'd say sign me up any day of the week. Let me get this whole set up. Also, another thing I wanted to mention, defensively, he's a beast. You mentioned the 1.8 blocks, which is up on screen, but he has to get better at defending marquee matchups and stretch bigs, because if you look at some of his games this season, Vucevic, when he was guarding Vooch shot 8 of 9 from the 3-point line when he was guarded by Mitch. Miles Turner, he was 6 of 9 from the 3-point line when guarded by Mitch. Cat 2 of 3. Embiid 2 of 4, Jokic 2 of 4. So all of those guys were able to shoot 50% or better from the 3-point line when they were directly guarded by Mitchell Robinson. So I would like to see him do a little bit better on that end. And if he's able to do that, he'll be a monster and he'll be worth the $15 million any day of the week.
Facts.
Let me just get.
Yeah, I just get the chat before you go to the next slide.
Say that again?
Don't forget the poll before you end with it.
Yeah, we're still talking about Mitch. All right. Action community. Oh, I misspelled extension. My bad, y'all. Russia. All right, let's see what the chat says. Lex the Destroyer says, pay that man and get him a better trainer. Wyatt Corville says, give him an unselfish point guard, and I feel he's a huge game changer. Sincere the Genius says, yes, pay Mitch. The thing is, I'm all for paying Mitch, but like I said, we have to get to the right price point because Mitch is an elite rebounder. He can protect the rim better than any player on the team currently. But we saw Sims look very good at extended minutes. He can alter shots, not to the level of Mitchell Robinson, but with the athleticism he has and with the strength he has, he's able to, force players to alter somewhat when they get into the rim or get to the rim. He's also able to grab rebounds, and he has some shot blocking capabilities. Now they all pale in comparison to Mitch, but I think if you look at Sims and what he can provide, maybe he can be given an opportunity to get a little bit more minutes, or at least be given the opportunity to earn the starting spot next season if we're unable to retain Mitch. So I'm going to be looking at some film and just trying to better analyze whether or not Sims could be some insurance for Mitchell Robinson when he hits free agency. JG says, bye, Mitch.
Mommy.
We surveyed 100 people, our field reporter. Salute. He says, if we trade Mitch, teams are going to score 150 on us nightly.
I mean, we barely had Mitch last season, and we made the playoffs, and ain't nobody really scoring us. But okay,
we were better, but then we had Nerlens Noel, and that's going to be something we'll talk about in another video. Nerlens and what we're going to do with him. If we are losing Mitchell Robinson, Nerlens Noel is another option as a replacement. Have him come and be the starting center next season, and then Sims be the backup option. But how could you rely on Nerlens? He was virtually unable to play this season due to a litany of injuries. It's not just one. He just had injuries pop up left, right, and center. So to rely on him to be the starting center next season, I think would just be setting us up for failure. There's no way we can move into next season with Nerlens Noel as the starting center. Maybe as a backup, but when we signed him to that contract, I already said we paid him a little bit too much to be a backup, and we already have Sims. So Sims start and Noel off the bench, that might be an interesting dynamic. But I still feel like if we could move off from Nerlens Noel and free up that money, that's something we should be exploring. We should be on the phones all night and day seeing if somebody could take that contract from us.
You forgetting that we got Tibbs on the team.
Facts.
Taj is going to be the one starting if we don't have Mitch. It's going to be Taj.
Taj needs to be sitting on the bench in a polo, not a jersey.
Yo, seriously, just make this man some sort of coach. Get him off the team. As long as he's on our roster, he's going to get minutes, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Andrew says Mitch has missed 30% of games in his career because of injury. I mean, I didn't do the exact calculations, but that could be correct. The only thing I would say is he's trending in the right direction. He had a career high in games played, and he also had a career high in field goal percentage. And this is coming, 2 years removed. I believe it's 2 years removed from the year in which he set the record for the highest field goal percentage. So, those are two things that you can point out to this season that are positives. If you look at the struggles, the free throw shooting has continued to be an issue. That's something he needs to work on. Stamina was an issue to start the season, but he kind of worked through it. And I think the coaching staff realized they should be playing him in shorter spurts as opposed to trying to play him in extended periods out there on the court. And like I mentioned earlier, it still has to do a little bit better guarding out there on the perimeter when he's up against some stretch fives in this league. All right, now let's see what the poll says. And poll?
Lucky Charm 22 said Taj and Burks averaging 40 minutes next season.
When I saw how many games Burks played, I was like, dang, that was wild. Like, I don't understand how, 81 games is a lot of games, but towards the end, he should have sat a few of those games and let the young guys get a bulk of those minutes. So let's see. We closed the poll. 50% said yes, extend him for less than 15 mil a year, and 29% said yes, extend him even if it costs over 15 million a year, and that was 29% of the votes. And 20% says no, let him walk via sign and trade. So pretty much 80% believe we should do our best to at least try and bring Mitch back. So I agree with. All right, let's move on to the next player.